And let it go. And breathe again. And let go. And one more time. You know how we talked about the collective consciousness? We're going to be talking a lot about that today, and breathing together comes to mind. So as I share with you often, I'm always in the market for ideas for Sunday talks. I do close to 50 talks a year. Did I mention I need a vacation? No, no, I do. But I do close to 50 talks a year if you count everything. So I look for inspiration anywhere and everywhere I can possibly find it. I draw from social media a lot, from movies, TV, songs, books, articles I've read, classes, conversations, even my dreams. Sometimes I wake up and go, well, that would make an interesting talk if I could figure out what it meant. Plus, I use a lot of my own experiences, you know that, and also when I happen to go on vacations and trips. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, I'm taking a trip this week. Yay! I'm leaving on Tuesday to go to our parent organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. They're having their SOAR retreat, not SOAR as in ouch, but SOAR as in soar retreat at a place called Asilomar, which is in Pacific Grove, California, right near Monterey, like right on the ocean. And we're having a retreat there for several days, and there are 15 other people from Calgary who are going. I know! Stand up if you're going to Asilomar. I know we got a number of them here, but we do have 15 people, and Amy's one of them. I know! I know! So it's my intention to come back with all kinds of new ideas and experiences to share with you, because after all, you do know that I take these vacations for you. Right? It's the sacrifice that I make as as the senior minister to get, to go on vacation so I can come up with ideas. In addition, I get inspiration also from talking and listening to you all, and to find out what's relevant to you. Because as a teacher, I want to find ways of teaching these spiritual principles that I talk about every week in a way that makes sense to you, number one, and number two, are relevant, so that you can actually apply it, especially in these difficult times. Would you agree that maybe we're going through some challenging times right now? Yeah. So all of that to explain where this talk idea came from. Last week, we spent a few moments in silence in reverence, I guess is the right word, for those horrific mass shootings that happened in the States last weekend. For people like us who really strive to look for the good in things, and to believe that God, or whatever you choose to call that life force energy, and to believe that it's everywhere, and then we see things like that, it can be a little disheartening. Would you agree? Yeah. And you add to it, you've got all that divisiveness, and you've got anger, and you've got intolerance, and it's coming from everywhere. It's coming from both sides of the spectrum, from all sides of the spectrum. It almost feels like it's a full-time job to keep our spirits up when so much seems to be trying to draw us down. So never was it more important than now to stay the course, to keep doing the work that we're doing, even though fatigue sets in and despair sometimes sets in. So after service last week, one of our longtime members, Neil Williams, shared an idea with me. And as soon as I heard him talk about it, I knew that I wanted to talk about it today, particularly in light of what's happening in the world. Neil has been in this teaching a long time, probably even longer than and I've been in this teaching a really long time. Let me see a show of hands. Let's just do this. Let me see a show of hands. People who've been in the teaching 40 years. Yeah. 35 years? Yep. 30 years? Yeah. 25 years? 20? 15? 10? 5? Brand new? Yeah, a few of us. Yay! We love the brand new ones. Fresh meat. No, I'm just kidding. 46 years Eleanor and Ed have been in this teaching. You walked into this center when I was 2. Kidding. I could see all of you doing the math going, okay, let me find out where I was going. Oh, Neil. Okay, Neil. Yeah. So those of you who've been around a long time remember this. Every center in the entire world ended their Sunday celebration with everyone in the community standing together, holding hands, and singing the peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And it was sung just like that, with those words, because those are the original words, written by, let me get her name, Jill Jackson Miller and Cy Miller, written back in the 50s for a children's choir to sing. But what happened is people started changing the words to the song to reflect more of who we are. For instance, instead of let there be peace, it became yes, there is peace, so that we would be in the moment. Instead of God as our Father, it got changed to God as Creator or God as Source to make it gender neutral. Instead of let me walk with my brother, it became we now walk with each other. Again, in the moment, gender neutral. And finally, let this be my solemn vow became I make this my joyous vow, because no one in this teaching wants to be solemn. So you get the idea, right? So Neil's idea was that all centers should start singing the peace song again with the original lyrics every Sunday. What he said was that this would start a vibration and intention that would go a long way in raising the consciousness of everybody who was singing it, which in turn would raise the consciousness of humanity, because that's how life works. And he is absolutely right, because we're all connected, kind of like a spider web. So what affects one side of the spider web is going to send out vibration to all of the spider web. And consequently, what is known in one mind or in one heart automatically affects everybody else. So he posits that if a group of conscious people began singing a song like that, just that we did, and I saw tears. I saw tears from people singing that, because it was like the olden days. It welled something up, right? And if we did something like that, it would start a vibration of peace that would absolutely make a difference. And you can breathe a sigh of relief because we are not going to be doing that every Sunday. For lots of reasons, but in particular because after 20 years or so of singing it, I just don't want it anymore. So there. However, what's important is the intention behind the idea, the intention of creating peace and harmony in the world. Because as the song reminds us again and again, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. One of my favorite poems illustrates this. Where there is love in the heart, there is beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. Where there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world. In other words, let it begin with me. Because here's the thing. We live in an inside-out world. So that means that what we believe and what we see and what our belief systems are in the inside is what we are going to see and experience on the outside. We think it's the other way around, or many people think it's the other way around. This is happening and it affects us and it changes us, but just the opposite is true, is that we get the idea here and it ripples out into the world. As within, so without. Case in point, have you ever had the experience of being in a really good mood? You're really loving everybody and you're loving everything, but you're with somebody who's in a bad mood and they're seeing everybody and everything as being against them? You're looking at the same world. You're having the same outside experience, and yet you are having two very different experiences. So why is that? What happens? How can that possibly be if you're in the same situation? It's because what goes on inside of us goes through our own internal filters, and it determines how we see life, determines how we view life. Happy people think we live in a friendly universe. Unhappy people think we live in an unfriendly universe. Now, this is not to say that we don't all have bad or sad days. I've been very honest with you in telling you I've been going through that recently. But it is the overall tendency of our thoughts that determines both our experience and how we see the world. The tendency, it's not just a random day here and there. What is the tendency of our thoughts? Ernest Holmes put it this way: what we demonstrate today, tomorrow, and the next day is not as important as the tendency which our thought is taking, the dominant attitude of our mind. So even if we have let the outside world affect our inner peace, we can know that that's temporary, that it doesn't stay that way. As long as we continue to cultivate and nurture our awakening consciousness, which in turn cultivates and nurtures our inner peace, which in turn cultivates and nurtures peace on earth. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. Here's a cute little meme that went around social media the other day, and I thought it just really illustrated how this concept works. So all the people on the ride are pissed, and a happy guy walks in. Pretty soon, happy guy's standing there smiling, and it's kind of spreading out, right? And pretty soon it's spreading out even more, and more people are smiling, and pretty soon everybody is smiling and feeling happy. Let it begin with me. And the beauty of this spiritual law, and that's what we're talking about, this is a spiritual law, is that it works in all areas of life, not just in the inner peace area of life. That's what we're talking about today. But it works in every area. For instance, any spiritual teacher, any guru is going to tell you that if you want to find love in your life, where do you start first? Not an online dating place. You must love yourself first. And that doesn't mean just romantic love. Still working on that one, okay? But it also means attracting loving friends, loving situations, loving coworkers, your family, being in the world. Ernest Holmes put it this way: you are either attracting or repelling according to your mental attitudes. You are either identifying yourself with lack or with abundance, with love and friendship or with indifference. You cannot keep from attracting into your experience that which corresponds to the sum total of your states of consciousness. This law of attraction and repulsion works automatically. So if you want love in your life, love yourself first. It's also true if you want to live in a world of prosperity and abundance. I know that's for a lot of people. I want to attract more. I want to live in a more abundant world. You must first believe and you must first live from a place of abundance. In other words, see the good everywhere, because it is everywhere. Look for the good everywhere. Because here's what happened. If you're looking for the good everywhere, you're putting out this vibration of plenty, of anticipation, this of yes, life is all going on. And what happens is you're putting out this vibe. Are you guys laughing at me? So you're putting out this vibe. There's really such a thing as vibe. Ernest Holmes calls it your mental atmosphere. But you really do have a vibe, right? And what happens, you become a magnet for your good to come to you, which in turn sends out more vibes, which brings in more that sends out more, and on and on. In our recent Roots class, which we just finished up last week, we studied the teachings of Emerson, Troward, and Emma Curtis Hopkins. All of them had a great influence on Ernest Holmes, our founder. And Emma Curtis Hopkins taught us this affirmations. Get ready, students. You know what's coming, right? There is good for me, and I ought to have it. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Come on. Play with me. Put your hand on your hips. Get a little swagger going. All right, you ready? There is good for me, and I ought to have it. Yes. Say it again. There is good for me, and I ought to have it. All righty. Imagine that sort of consciousness all the time. Imagine how that would be a magnet for your good. And then it becomes a magnet for your good. It also increases the consciousness of everybody else because you are showing them that good is all around them. And there's one more thing I want to say about that, because this is really important, folks. You having your good, whatever that means to you, whether it's abundance or love or health or anything else, you having your fill of good does not take anything away from anyone else. There is plenty. There is limitless good that goes around. So these are just a few examples of how our inner world can affect and influence our outer world. And unfortunately, it can also work in the opposite direction, which is part of the reason we're in the situation that we are. Somehow, despite our very best efforts, there is this very strong, what I consider to be a low vibration energy. And it's made up of fear and lack and racism and hatred and left against right and us against them and all that stuff. And it's just pervading the world. And I could go into all kinds of sociological explanations for it. There's spiral dynamics, there's integral theory, all these other things. But the bottom line is, what's happening is this lower energy is engaged in keeping the status quo. We don't want change. We want things to stay the way they are. And then you've got the higher energy, what I consider to be higher energy, which is engaged in trying to raise it up. And as a result, you have this feeling of life fighting against itself. But of course, that's life with a small L. Because life with a capital L doesn't struggle against itself. It can't. It is wholeness. It is completeness. It cannot struggle against itself. Ernest Holmes said, the original spirit is harmony. It is beauty and truth and everything that goes with ultimate reality. The universe is not divided against itself. And the more we realize that, and the more that we recognize that we are all part of the original spirit, not just some of us, all of us. And we have to hold that vision. We have to cultivate, we have to nurture that vision that all of us, even them, are part of the original spirit. Because the universe is not divided against itself. So the more we can know that, and the more that we can nurture that and cultivate our inner peace, we are also contributing to peace on earth. So we're going to practice right now. Chance, can you come up and do a little noodly? Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just begin to pay attention to your breathing. And allow yourself to relax. For these next few moments, there's nothing you need to be doing, no place you need to go. This is your time. Feel the chair supporting you, just as the universe supports us individually and collectively. Take in a deep breath, and when you let it out, find yourself melting into your chair. We are going to use as our mantra simply the words inner peace. So with your in-breath, think the word inner. And with your out-breath, spread it by thinking peace. In-breath is inner. Out-breath is peace. When other thoughts come in, and they will, just acknowledge that and come back to your breath and to the mantra, inner peace. inner peace. Inner peace. And know that any time you choose to, you can go to a quiet place and practice this very simple mantra, pairing it with your breath. Inner peace. And slowly begin to bring yourself back. Back to this room. Feel the chair beneath you. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Feel the energy in the room now. It's like we've just entered into calm waters. One of my ministerial student colleagues, many, many years ago, used this affirmation, and it has stuck with me for so many, many years. I remain calm in the midst of whatever. I remain at peace in the midst of whatever. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. I love you, and so it is. Are you ready to sing? I know this song. This is a beauty.